The silver ships of the Galactic Confederation hung in Earth's orbit like shining stars. There were 7 of them. The largest one, in the center, was the command ship where Admiral Zorak paced back and forth. His 4 legs made soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. His skin was blue-gray, and his eyes were large and black. He was worried. "Show me the footage again," Zorak said to his crew. Commander Vexel nodded and pressed a button on the control panel. The large screen on the wall lit up. It showed scenes from Earth. Humans fighting other humans. Soldiers running through city streets with guns. Tanks rolling across deserts. Fighter jets dropping bombs. Ships launching missiles. Soldiers fighting hand to hand. "These humans," Vexel said, shaking his head, "they have spent their entire history fighting each other. All their best technology was made to kill." Zorak watched the screen carefully. The humans moved with purpose. They worked together in teams. They showed no fear. When one fell, others kept going. "How many wars have they had?" Zorak asked. "Thousands," replied Science Officer Krell, who stood nearby holding a datapad. "They have not had a single year without war somewhere on their planet." Zorak's antenna drooped slightly. This was bad news. The Confederation had come to Earth planning to take over. They had done this with 17 other planets. Usually, it was easy. Most species were peaceful. They would give up rather than fight. The Confederation would take their resources and leave the natives alone. It was simple, but humans were different. "What about their space technology?" Zorak asked. "Very basic," Krell said. "They have only been to their own moon and sent some simple robots to nearby planets. They cannot travel between stars like we can." "But their weapons?" Zorak pressed. "Nuclear missiles, laser-guided bombs, drones, chemical weapons." Krell read from his datapad. "Nothing as advanced as ours, but—" He paused. "But what?" Zorak demanded. "They are very good at using what they have," Krell finished. "And they learn quickly." On the screen, a human soldier threw himself on top of an explosive to save his friends. In another scene, a wounded soldier kept fighting, despite bleeding badly. "They do not give up," Vexel noted, "even when they should." Zorak turned away from the screen. He had seen enough. The Confederation had superior technology and weapons, but they had not fought a real war in 300 years. Their species valued order and peace. Fighting was not in their nature. But for humans, it seemed fighting was as natural as breathing. "Sir, the human representative is here," a guard announced from the doorway. "Send him in." Zorak ordered. Jack Freeman walked into the room with confidence. He was tall for a human, with short brown hair and a friendly smile. He wore a simple blue suit with the Earth United Nations patch on the shoulder. The aliens towered over him, but he showed no sign of fear. "Admiral Zorak," Jack said with a small bow. "Thank you for inviting me aboard your ship. It's an honor to be the first human to visit a Confederation vessel." Zorak nodded his large head. "The honor is ours. We hope this meeting will start peaceful relations between our peoples." Jack smiled. What the aliens didn't know was that he understood their language. The translators were still being adjusted. But Jack had studied alien communications for months before first contact. He had heard everything they said about humans. "Please sit," Zorak gestured to a chair that had been made specially for human visitors. "We have been learning about your planet." "I hope you like what you've seen," Jack said, sitting down. Vexel quickly switched the screen to show beautiful Earth landscapes instead of war footage. "Your planet has much natural beauty," he said. "Yes, we're very proud of Earth," Jack replied, "though we haven't always taken the best care of it." Zorak sat across from Jack. "We have visited many worlds, Mr. Freeman. Each species has its strengths. Some are great builders. Others are skilled in science or art. Your people seem to have a particular skill for warfare." Jack's face remained friendly, but his eyes grew serious. "We don't see it as a skill, Admiral. War is a tragedy for us. But yes, when we must fight, we fight with everything we have." "And why is that?" Zorak asked. "Because we value freedom," Jack answered simply. "Throughout our history, we've learned that sometimes you must fight to remain free." The room grew quiet. The aliens looked at each other. The Confederation had planned to. Vexel began, but Zorak raised a hand to stop him. "We had planned to propose a special relationship with Earth," Zorak said carefully. "But I think we need to reconsider our approach." Jack nodded slowly. "I think that's wise, Admiral. Humans are eager to join the galactic community as equals. We have much to learn from you, and perhaps a few things to teach as well." After the meeting, Zorak called his officers together. The human had left, returning to the Earth station in orbit. "Cancel the annexation plan," Zorak ordered. "Instead, I will recommend to the High Council that we offer Earth full diplomatic recognition and membership in the Confederation. But, Sir, Vexel protested. Their planet has valuable resources we need. Then we will trade for them, Zorak said firmly. I've made my decision. Later, alone in his quarters, Zorak reviewed the human combat footage one more time. He watched as human soldiers ran toward danger instead of away from it. He saw them risk their lives for each other. He observed their fierce determination, even when outmatched. Zorak shut off the screen. The Confederation had conquered 17 worlds without firing a shot, simply by showing up with superior technology and numbers. The native species always surrendered rather than face destruction. But humans? Humans would fight. They would keep fighting even when victory seemed impossible. And they would never stop learning, adapting, and finding new ways to win. Computer, send a message to the High Council, Zorak said. Message begins. After careful study of the species known as humans, I strongly recommend against any military action against Earth. Instead, I suggest immediate diplomatic recognition and a non-aggression treaty. The humans have a saying, choose your battles wisely. This is one battle the Confederation should avoid at all costs. Back on the Earth station, Jack Freeman reported to his superiors. It worked exactly as we hoped, he told them. They've seen what we can do, and they want no part of a war with humanity. 6 months had passed since the first meeting between humans and the Galactic Confederation. Things had changed quickly. Earth now had an embassy on Proxima Centauri's second planet. Susan Parker served as Earth's main diplomat there. She had 20 years of experience working with different countries on Earth, but dealing with aliens was new to her. Susan walked down a long hallway with her assistant, Alan Rodriguez. The walls were made of a strange blue metal that seemed to glow slightly. They had gotten used to the odd gravity, just a bit lighter than Earth's. The Draconians are causing trouble again, Alan said as they walked. They want all the mining rights to the asteroid belt in our solar system. Susan frowned. That's not what we agreed to. We discussed working together on mining, not giving them control. They say we promised them exclusive rights during the trade meeting last month. Alan explained. They're threatening to complain to the Confederation Council. If they do that, we'll have to defend ourselves to races that still think we're primitive newcomers, Susan said. She stopped walking when they reached a door marked with Earth's symbol. I need to talk to General Kelly right away. Alan nodded and went to set up the secure call. Later that day, Susan sat across from Tarek, the Draconian trade minister. Tarek looked like a large lizard walking on 2 legs. His green scales shimmered in the light, and his forked tongue flicked in and out as he spoke. Your position makes no sense, Tarek said. According to Confederation maps, the asteroid belt should be in our area of control. Susan remained calm. Before we continue this discussion, I thought you might want to see some interesting videos from Earth. She pressed a button on the table. and a screen appeared in the air between them. It showed military exercises, fighters designed for space combat doing complex maneuvers, defense platforms in orbit demonstrating their weapons, and soldiers training for fighting in zero gravity. "What is this?" Tarek demanded. His scales seemed to stand up slightly. "Just some educational material," Susan said with a smile. "Since your people are so interested in our asteroid belt, I thought you might want to learn about how humans have protected their resources throughout history." Tarek watched the screen. He saw humans fighting with skill and determination. He saw weapons designed specifically for space warfare. He saw training exercises that prepared for every possible scenario. "Of course," Susan continued casually, "Earth prefers peaceful cooperation. We're new to the galactic community and eager to build friendly relationships. That's why we suggested joint mining operations in the first place." Tarek's eyes never left the screen. "These space fighters, they are quite impressive." "Thank you," Susan replied. "They're actually just training models. Our real defense fleet is much more advanced." This wasn't exactly true. Earth was still developing its space military. But the Draconians didn't need to know that 30 minutes later, Susan and Tarek signed a new agreement. They would share the mining operations equally. Both sides would get the same amount of resources and profits. After Tarek left, Alan came into the room. "That went better than expected," he said. Susan smiled. "Sometimes the best way to avoid a fight is to show you're ready for one." "Did General Kelly send those videos?" Alan asked. Susan nodded. "Special package prepared just for this meeting. Nothing classified, just enough to make an impression." "The Draconians have been pushing smaller species around for years," Alan said. "They're not used to being challenged." "Well, they'd better get used to it," Susan replied. "Humans might be new here, but we've had thousands of years of practice standing our ground." Back on his ship, Tarek reported to his superior, High Commander Zex. The commander's scales were darker, almost black, showing his age and rank. "The humans refused to give us exclusive rights," Tarek explained. "They insisted on an equal partnership." "And you agreed?" Zex hissed. "Weakness. We could have taken what we wanted." Tarek shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, they showed me their military capabilities. Their space combat readiness is concerning." "They are a primitive species," Zex said. "They barely left their own planet. With respect, sir, they may be new to space, but they are not new to war," Tarek replied. "They showed me footage of their training exercises. Their tactics are unlike anything I've seen." "Propaganda," Zex dismissed it with a wave of his clawed hand. "Perhaps," Tarek admitted. "But consider this. The Confederation was planning to annex Earth without negotiation. Instead, they offered full diplomatic recognition and membership. Why would they change their approach so dramatically?" Zex was silent for a moment. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that the Confederation saw something that made them reconsider," Tarek said carefully. "Something that made them decide that humans were better as allies than enemies." Meanwhile, back at the Earth Embassy, Susan sent a message to Earth's United Space Command. The screen showed General Maria Kelly, a woman with short gray hair and a serious expression. "The Draconians backed down," Susan reported. "The joint mining agreement is signed." "Good work," General Kelly said. "Did you use the footage I sent?" "Yes, it was very effective," Susan replied. They seemed especially impressed by the zero-gravity combat training. General Kelly smiled slightly. "Most species never developed those tactics. They either evolved in space or stayed on their planets. Only humans had to adapt from one environment to another." "The Draconians won't be the last to test us," Susan warned. "We're still seen as newcomers. Others will try to take advantage. Let them try," the general said. "Each time, we'll show a little more of what we can do. Not enough to threaten, just enough to make them think twice." "After the call ended, Susan, looked out the window at the alien planet that now held Earth's first interstellar embassy. Stars filled the sky, more than she had ever seen from Earth. Among those stars were thousands of worlds, filled with different species. Some friendly, some not. Humans were just beginning their journey into this vast galactic community. They had much to learn, but they also had something valuable to offer. Thousands of years of experience dealing with conflict. While other species saw this as primitive, Susan knew it might be humanity's greatest strength. Sometimes, she said quietly to herself, the best way to keep peace is to be very, very good at war. 2 years after Earth joined the Galactic Confederation, everything changed. A group called the Hegemony Coalition began attacking Confederation worlds. The coalition was made up of predator species who believed they should rule over others. They had been quiet for many years, but now they were on the move again. General Peter Williams stood in the Pentagon's new Interstellar Defense Command Center. The room was filled with large screens showing maps of space. Small red dots showed where the coalition ships were moving. They've taken 3 Confederation outposts in the past month, Peter explained to the group of military leaders sitting at the table. They're testing defenses, looking for weak spots before they start a full invasion. Admiral Carla Martinez looked up from her notes. How is the Confederation responding? Peter shook his head. That's the problem. The Confederation hasn't faced a real military threat in over 200 years. They rely on talking and trade sanctions when there's trouble. Trade sanctions against species that eat their prisoners, said Colonel Frank Phillips, with a snort. I'm sure that will work great. Just then, the door opened and Ambassador Greg Daniels walked in. He had just returned from the Confederation capital. His tired face told him the news wasn't good. The Confederation Council can't agree on what to do, Greg announced. Half of them want to give up territory to avoid fighting. They're hoping the coalition will be satisfied and stop. And the other half? Peter asked. They're looking to us, Greg replied. Earth is the newest member of the Confederation, but we're the only ones with recent fighting experience. They want us to lead the defense efforts. Peter nodded slowly. So after centuries of peace, they suddenly need warriors. Not just warriors, Greg corrected. They need humans. After studying our military history, several council members specifically asked for human leadership for the Combined Defense Force. The next day, Defense Secretary Olivia Walsh addressed the United Nations Security Council. The room was packed with representatives from every nation. The Hegemony Coalition believes the Confederation will surrender without a fight, Olivia sighed. They've never seen humans in combat. Our job is to make sure they never want to. Over the next few weeks, Earth prepared for war. Ships that had been designed for exploration were quickly fitted with weapons. Soldiers trained for space combat. Every nation contributed what they could. Meanwhile, at the Confederation headquarters, Admiral Zorak met with the Earth military delegation. He remembered his first meeting with humans 2 years ago, when he had decided not to try to conquer Earth. Now he was glad for that decision. The coalition has taken another system, Zorak reported. They are moving faster than we expected. General Peter Williams studied the star map. They're following a clear pattern. They take small outposts first, then move to larger targets. Classic invasion strategy. We have never needed military strategy before, Zorak admitted. The Confederation has been at peace for so long that we've forgotten how to fight. Well, humans remember, Peter said. We'll help you defend your worlds, but we need full authority to command the combined forces. Zorak's large eyes blinked slowly. Many council members are uncomfortable with giving so much power to such a new species. Would they prefer to give that power to the coalition? Peter asked. Zorak had no answer for that. 2 days later, the Confederation Council voted to create a combined defense force under human command. It wasn't a unanimous decision, but fear of the coalition convinced enough members to support it. On Earth, military bases became training grounds for alien soldiers. Most Confederation species had no fighting instinct. They had to be taught everything from basic tactics to how to hold a weapon. Lieutenant Ben Howard watched as a group of Arcturian soldiers practiced formation movements. The Arcturians looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and 4 arms. They were physically strong, but had no concept of military discipline. "No, you're still bunching up," Ben called out. "Spread out more. If you're too close together, one attack can take out all of you." The Arcturians tried again, but they still stayed too close to each other. Ben sighed. Their species lived in tight-knit communities. Being separated from each other made them anxious. "They're trying their best," said Captain Lisa Chun, walking beside Ben, "but they're not natural fighters." "None of them are," Ben replied. "The Confederation species evolved past warfare. It's a nice idea, but it doesn't work when you meet someone who still wants to fight." Lisa nodded. "That's why they need us. Humans never evolved past warfare. We just got better at it." Reports came in daily about coalition advances. They were moving steadily toward the core Confederation worlds. Their ships were fast and heavily armed. Their soldiers were fierce and showed no mercy to prisoners. In the White House Situation Room, President William Foster met with his security team. The mood was serious as they reviewed the latest intelligence. The coalition leader, Supreme Commander Craig, has issued a statement, said National Security Advisor Daniel Jones. He says the Confederation is weak and deserves to be conquered. He specifically mentioned that Earth's alliance with the Confederation was a mistake. "He's trying to isolate us," the president said. "Make other Confederation members doubt our commitment." "It won't work," replied General Williams. "The Confederation knows they need us now." "How soon can our forces be ready?" the president asked. "The first joint human Confederation fleet can deploy in 3 days," General Williams answered. "We've equipped their ships with our weapon systems. Their technology is more advanced than ours, but they never developed the offensive capabilities that we have." President Foster stood and looked at the star map on the wall. Earth was just one small dot among thousands of stars. 2 years ago, humans didn't even know alien life existed. Now they were preparing to defend the galaxy. "Throughout human history, we've fought countless wars against each other," the president said quietly. "All that fighting taught us something important: how to stand up against bullies. The coalition thinks the Confederation will surrender without a fight. They don't understand that humans are now part of the Confederation, and humans never surrender." As the meeting ended, reports came in that coalition ships had been spotted near Proxima Centauri, the closest star system to Earth. The war was coming closer to home. "Send everything we have to Proxima," ordered the president. "It's time to show the coalition exactly what they're up against." The coalition's advance continued for weeks. The Confederation struggled to organize its defenses. A joint Earth Confederation military base had been set up on Proxima 4, the 4th planet in the star system closest to Earth. Human officers worked hard to train alien troops in combat tactics. Captain Samantha Hill watched with frustration as the Arcturian squad practiced a basic defensive maneuver. The insect-like aliens were physically strong with 4 arms, but they had no natural instinct for fighting as a team. "No, no, no," she called out. "You're bunching up again. Spread out more. If you stay so close together, you make yourselves an easy target." The Arcturians tried again, but still stayed too close to each other. Samantha sighed. Their species lived in hive-like communities. Being separated made them feel unsafe. Lieutenant Eric Johnson approached her with a data tablet. "Captain, we've detected coalition forces entering the system. 3 large ships and several smaller ones. Samantha's face grew serious. How long until they reach us? About 12 hours at their current speed. Evacuate all non-combat personnel, she ordered, and get me a direct line to Earth Command. On the main Coalition warship, General Krazak watched the view screen with confidence. His species had evolved as apex predators, with sharp teeth and claws. His yellow eyes had vertical pupils like a cat's. The Coalition military reflected his species' aggressive nature. They attacked swiftly and showed no mercy. The defenses at Proxima 4 are minimal, reported his tactical officer. They have few orbital weapons. The ground fortifications are standard Confederation design. Our weapons can easily break through them. Krazak smiled, showing his pointed teeth. Begin the attack sequence. I want this outpost secured by... An alarm suddenly blared across the command deck. Unknown vessels detected. The sensor officer called out. They've appeared from behind. The system's gas giant. Impossible, Krazak growled. Our scouts detected nothing there. The view screen activated, showing a formation of ships unlike any in the Confederation Navy. They were sleek, dark, and covered with weapon systems. The Earth vessels moved with purpose, taking up positions between the Coalition fleet and Proxima. 4. Incoming transmission. The communications officer announced. The screen changed to show Captain Samantha Hill. Her face was calm but determined. Coalition vessels. This is Earth Defense Force Captain Hill. You have entered restricted space. Leave immediately. Krazak laughed. Your primitive vessels don't worry us, human. Surrender your outpost or be destroyed. Samantha's expression didn't change. Very well. We'll show you what we can do. What happened next amazed even the Confederation. Observers. The Earth vessels moved in ways that defied normal space tactics. They used the gravity of nearby planets to slingshot into attack positions. They deployed electronic countermeasures that confused Coalition targeting systems. Within hours, 2 Coalition vessels had been disabled, their engines destroyed with surgical precision. Krazak's flagship remained intact, but was cut off as the Earth ships systematically dismantled his attack force. On the bridge of his ship, Krazak raged at his officers. How is this possible? They're a primitive species. They've barely left their own planet. His tactical officer's voice shook as he replied, Sir, they're not fighting like a primitive species. Their tactics are unlike anything we've seen before. They're targeting our weaknesses with incredible precision. Another blast rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Enough, Krazak finally transmitted. We are withdrawing. Before you go, Samantha replied calmly, I'm sending a data package to your ship. It contains historical footage of human ground combat operations. I suggest your leaders watch it carefully before considering any more attacks on worlds under human protection. As the Coalition ships limped away from Proxima 4, the Confederation forces on the planet celebrated. They had expected to be conquered. Instead, they had witnessed something extraordinary, a much smaller force defeating a larger one through superior tactics. Back on her ship, Captain Samantha Hill received a transmission from Admiral Zorak. The Confederation leader's large eyes showed a mixture of relief and amazement. Captain Hill, the Confederation Council extends its deepest gratitude, Zorak said. You've saved not just Proxima 4, but demonstrated that the Coalition can be defeated. This was just one battle, Admiral, Samantha replied. The Coalition will be back, and they'll be better prepared next time. What was in the data package you sent them? Zorak asked. Samantha smiled slightly. Videos of human warfare throughout our history. Examples of guerrilla tactics, urban combat, naval warfare, air battles, just a small sample of how humans fight when we're outnumbered or outgunned. Zorak was silent for a moment. You wanted them to see what they're really facing. Exactly. Samantha said, "The coalition needs to understand that even if they have superior technology or numbers, humans have thousands of years of experience fighting against the odds. We never give up, and we're very creative when it comes to warfare." Later that day, on the coalition flagship, General Krozak watched the human combat footage with growing concern. The videos showed humans fighting in every environment imaginable. Deserts, jungles, mountains, oceans, city streets. They adapted to each situation with remarkable speed. When they didn't have the right weapons, they made new ones. When conventional tactics failed, they invented new approaches. Most disturbing of all was their persistence. Even when defeated, humans would regroup and attack again. They learned from each loss and came back stronger. Krozak turned off the screen. His species believed in overwhelming force, striking hard and fast to terrify enemies into submission. But humans didn't seem to feel terror the same way. Instead, it made them more determined to fight back. "Send a message to Supreme Commander Korak," Krozak ordered his communications officer. "The situation at Proxima 4 requires reassessment. The human species presents unique challenges we did not anticipate." That was the closest Krozak could come to admitting he was worried. His species valued aggression and strength above all else. Showing fear or doubt was seen as weakness. But privately, he wondered if attacking Confederation worlds had been a mistake now that humans had joined their alliance. On Earth, news of the victory at Proxima 4 spread quickly. For the first time, humans had fought an alien enemy and won. Military leaders from around the world studied the battle recordings, looking for ways to improve their tactics for the next encounter. In the Pentagon's Interstellar Command Center, General Peter Williams briefed the president on the battle's significance. "Captain Hill's tactics were brilliant," he explained. "She used the coalition's aggression against them, drawing them into traps and exposing their weaknesses." "Will it work a second time?" the president asked. "No," Peter admitted. "They'll adapt, but so will we. That's the one advantage humans have always had. We learn from every fight." The president nodded. "Make sure every Earth vessel has the same tactical data Captain Hill used, and send her my personal thanks." As the meeting ended, reports came in that coalition ships were pulling back from several Confederation systems. The demonstration at Proxima IV had made them reconsider their invasion plans. For now, at least, the war had been paused. All because the coalition had seen firsthand what humans could do in combat, and they wanted no part of it. 1 year after the battle at Proxima 4, representatives from Earth, the Confederation, and the coalition gathered on a giant space station orbiting Tau Ceti, a neutral star system. This was the first formal peace meeting between all three powers. The space station was chosen because it was the same distance from all three territories. Secretary General Diane Cooper led the Earth delegation. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Military advisors and diplomatic staff stood behind her. The talks had been going on for 3 days, and the coalition representatives were finally starting to change their position. The coalition formally recognizes the borders established in the Proxima Accords, announced the coalition's supreme delegate. His translator conveyed his reluctant tone perfectly. "We withdraw all claims to Confederation systems." Ambassador Ryan Nelson, Earth's senior diplomat, nodded respectfully. Earth appreciates the coalition's commitment to peaceful coexistence. After the formal meeting ended, Ryan found himself approached by Kreshnar, a high-ranking coalition military commander. Kreshnar was taller than a human, with yellow eyes and scale-like skin. "Your species is puzzling," the alien admitted, his translator converting his clicks and hisses into English. "Our intelligence reports said your world was divided, your governments fighting each other. We expected easy conquest. We have our differences, Ryan." "Acknowledged." But humans have a long history of uniting against outside threats. After studying the combat footage your captain shared, Kreshner continued, our war council was ... disturbed. Your species fights with an intensity that doesn't make sense. You have fewer natural weapons than any advanced species we've encountered. Yet you've developed fighting techniques that make up for every disadvantage. Ryan smiled slightly. We've had a lot of practice. Back in the Earth delegation's private room, Diane Cooper reviewed the final peace agreement with her team. The terms were fair, better than they had expected when talks began. The coalition had entered these negotiations believing they had the upper hand, but now they seemed eager to finalize a peace deal. They're afraid of us, noted Admiral Jason Mitchell of Earth Defense Command. Not just our weapons or ships, but our way of fighting. Fear can be useful in negotiations, Diane replied, but it's not a foundation for lasting peace. Later, as the Earth delegation prepared to leave, Admiral Mitchell shared a quiet moment with Diane as they looked out a viewport at the stars. You. Know what's ironic? He said. For all our history of warfare, it was the threat of war that finally united us with the Confederation. And now, it's the absence of war that's keeping that unity. Diane nodded thoughtfully. The coalition reviewed our military history and decided they wanted no part of a war with humans. Perhaps that's the greatest victory we could have achieved. Peace through the reputation of strength, rather than its application. On the coalition flagship, Supreme Commander Korak reviewed the peace agreement with his war council. His clawed hand tapped impatiently on the metal table. This is humiliating, growled General Krazak. We are the greatest military power in this sector. We should be dictating terms, not accepting them. You felt differently after your encounter at Proxima. 4, Korak reminded him. Your report said the humans fought with unexpected effectiveness. Krazak's scales flushed with color, the equivalent of a human blush. One battle is not a war. We could overwhelm them with numbers. Perhaps, Korak said. But at what? Cost? He pressed a button, and a screen appeared showing human combat footage. Their history is endless war. They've been fighting each other for thousands of years, developing tactics we never imagined. While we evolved natural weapons, they created artificial ones. When we relied on strength, they developed strategy. The footage showed humans fighting in different environments, adapting to impossible situations, using the terrain to their advantage. Most concerning of all, Korak continued, is their persistence. Every other species we've conquered eventually accepted defeat. Humans don't. They keep fighting even when victory seems impossible. They use unconventional tactics. They turn everyday objects into weapons. They sacrifice themselves to protect others. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The coalition had built its empire through intimidation as much as actual combat. Most species surrendered rather than face destruction. Humans, it seemed, would never surrender. The peace agreement is approved, Korak declared, ending the discussion. We will find easier conquests elsewhere, far from human space. 1 month later, on Earth, the United Nations General Assembly gathered to celebrate the ratification of the peace treaty. Representatives from the Confederation attended as honored guests. The mood was one of cautious optimism. President William Foster addressed the assembly. 1 year ago, humanity faced its first interstellar conflict. Today, we celebrate our first interstellar peace. The road ahead will not be easy, but we have taken an important step toward a more secure future for Earth and our allies. After the ceremony, Admiral Zorak spoke privately with General Peter Williams. The two had developed a friendship despite their different backgrounds. The coalition is already looking for new territories to expand into, Zorak said. Far from Confederation space. That was always the most likely outcome, Peter replied. They're predators, They seek the easiest prey. Thanks to humans, the Confederation is no longer easy prey, Zorak said. Your species has changed the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. Peter smiled. We've barely begun to explore space. We have so much to learn from the Confederation about science, culture, medicine. And we have much to learn from humans about defense, strategy, and courage, Zorak replied. It seems we need each other. As the Earth continued to integrate with the galactic community, humanity's reputation spread. Other species watched the footage from Proxima 4 with amazement. They studied human history with a mixture of horror and fascination. How could a species spend so much time fighting itself, yet unite so quickly against an outside threat? The answer became clear as more aliens visited Earth. Despite their violent history, or perhaps because of it, humans valued peace more deeply. Than many other species, they understood its fragility. They knew its cost. 3 years after first contact, Earth had established diplomatic relations with 27 alien civilizations. Trade agreements brought new technologies and resources. Human universities welcomed alien students, and human students traveled to study on distant worlds. And throughout the galaxy, one fact became widely known. If you wanted cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, or trade with humans, they were among the most open and generous species. But if you threatened them or their allies, if you sought conquest or domination, well, there were countless videos showing exactly what happened. Then, most species decided they wanted no part of that. Peace was so much simpler.